Today's chemical incident is another reason why the Syrian war must come to an end and let the people regain their lives. Isn't 6 years of war enough? Aren't you satisfied yet? Animals don't kill each other for revenge, but we are being killed for more than 2,200 days to satisfy the barbaric instincts of some extremists. Now today, only minutes after the chemical attack, even before investigations could be conducted and for evidence to emerge, Federica Mogherini, the High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs, condemned the Syrian government. Well, let me tell you why the Syrian government isn't responsible for using chemical weapons in Khan Shaykhun. First of all, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons has supervised the destruction of Syria's chemical weapons in 2014. And since then, various terrorist groups operating in Syria have used chemical weapons, including poisonous sarin gas. But the international community didn't utter a word. Some would ask, do these Islamist militants have chemical weapons? Of course they have. If the media and Western governments refusing to acknowledge this truth, that doesn't mean the terrorists don't have chemicals. Now, in 2013, leading investigative journalist Seymour Hersh conducted his research, and in fact, he embarrassed the Obama administration.
And so what exactly are you reporting?
The basic real point that I make is that we know, and we've known since spring, that the most radical jihadi, if you will, opposition group, rebel group, al-Nusra, we're talking about serious Salafists, Wahhabis, what you will, had access to sarin. There was a lot of intelligence reporting about it. The White House can say anything they want about it, but that is a fact, that they had access to sarin. So when the incident took place, the one thing they didn't do is they didn't consider the possibility that al-Nusra could have been one of the people that involved. They went right away to the notion that it had to be Bashar, and the world's press went with them, including the American press, and in fact, they didn't have much of a case. There is sarin. It was used. The sarin that the Syrian army has a different chemical component than the sarin that would be made by al-Nusra, because the army is more sophisticated, has certain additives. Certainly somebody has looked at that. I don't know why they don't talk about the sarin they have and whether it shows it came from the army or did not. The other thing that one could say is that what the president said suggested that we were watching in real time. What you just heard him say in that bit, we were watching in real time as this incident took place. That's not so. The government has acknowledged.
No, they acknowledged that they were not watching in real time. It was after the fact.
And then the question then is, if it's such a wonderful case he has and they're so sure, why so quick to walk away? Why say after a little heat, why say that we're going to go, all of a sudden he's the constitutionalist, the guy who invaded Tripoli without one worry about the War Powers Act. All of a sudden he's a constitutionalist and wants to go to Congress. Has there been any positive evidence yet? Has anybody said, here's the chemical? Did we know that al-Nusra, no matter what they say, the fact of the matter is the Syrian opposition, and not necessarily the Free Syrian Army, the secular opposition, the Islamist opposition, has access to this stuff. It's not hard to make sarin. You could mix it in the backyard, two chemicals, meld it together. The fact is, they have it. We know it. They're not talking about it. It's embarrassing to them. I don't mean to embarrass them, but that's, I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. It was there. They should have been a suspect, and they weren't looked at.
Now listen to the leading United Nations investigator, Carla Del Ponte, on the same issue.
During our investigation for crimes against humanity and war crimes, we collect some witness testimony that made to appear that some chemical weapons were used, in particular nervine gas, and what appeared on to our investigation that was used by the opponents, by the rebels, and we have no indication at all that the government, the authority of the Syrian government, have used chemical weapons.
So these terrorists do have chemical weapons. Now, 101 of any political analysis is to search for the beneficiary after the occurrence of any incident. Back in 2012, the Turkish Saudi-backed militants used chemical weapons on the Syrian army in Khan al-Assal town in Aleppo. The Syrian government received UN investigators for a fact-checking mission in August 2013, and on the same eve of their arrival, a chemical attack happened in East Ghouta, and the Western governments and their liberal and Islamist warmongering journalists accused the Assad government. Now ask yourself this question. If the Syrian government calling for UN investigators to Syria to verify Khan al-Assal chemical attack, would it drop gas on eastern Ghouta while the UN is in Syria? What kind of retarded person should someone be to believe this lie? Now today's chemical attack is not different from the 2013 attack. Number one, it comes only a few days after the Syrian army crushed Al-Qaeda in North Hama, moving forward towards Soran, Mork, and then Khan Shaykhun. And two, it comes after a few days of the US foreign minister saying Washington's priority is no more removing Assad from power, but to defeat ISIS. So here comes Assad asking himself this question. Things are pretty good. I'm winning in Hama, I have won in Aleppo, soon I will finish on Al-Qaeda in the suburbs of Damascus. Trump is saying he no more wants to remove me from power. So let me use these chemical weapons, which I don't have, to cause anger and foil the Russian-American efforts to defeat ISIS. Use it! Now before ending this episode, I have three observations. Number one, anti-Assad Orient TV correspondent has already prepared for media campaign to cover the Russian and Syrian airstrikes in Hama countryside against terrorist forces, with the allegations that the air forces have been using chemical weapons. This tweet came one day before today's chemical attack. Seems like someone forgot to tell him that it would not occur for a few more hours before his tweet. And number two, terrorist Muhammad Alloush, the leader of Islam's army, says a new kind of chemical gas has been used in Khan Shaykhun. Wait a second. How does Alloush knows this is a new kind of gas from his hotel in Turkey? I believe no one could know unless he had prior knowledge. And this explains why he deleted his statement from Twitter. And number three, which is also important, why do Al-Qaeda's civil defense, aka the white helmets, are not using gloves while carrying the victims poisoned by sarin gas? Last time I saw an evacuation of chemical attack victims was in Tokyo, and this is how it looked like. Anyways, after my preliminary investigation and several calls to renowned journalists in Syria, I can say the Syrian army conducted one airstrike over Khan Shaykhun today, hitting a weapons factory. So my guess is the factory might be contained chemicals used by the terrorists to produce chemical weapons. But this is just a guess, huh? We don't have any kind of confirmation yet. So as I promised you, I'm here to debunk the fake news of the mainstream media. So please share this video around and be part of destroying the fake news. See you next time.